Help support our coverage with a free account on Privacy, the service that keeps you protected when shopping online. Get $5 to try it now by using promo code QZZ2J. And with Blueberry, the community that gives creators the power to make money, get detailed audience measurements, and host their audio and video. Get a 30-day free trial by using promo code Blueberry004.
But anyway, let's go ahead and get into our first guest here this morning. And I believe, is the information I have, do we have Jerry Kurtza from BeBop Sensors? Is that who I have?
Close enough.
Okay.
Jerry Kurtz. But
Jerry, how
nice
are you
to meet
doing?
you.
Welcome to the show. Good morning.
Good morning. Happy Friday.
Yes, happy Friday. So what have you guys been doing here at CES?
So essentially, last year we had showed off a prototype of our product. And this year we came with a full running production version of the product. It is essentially a glove for haptics in virtual and augmented reality.
You know, there was, are you guys over, are you here in Sands, or are you guys over in LVCC?
We're in LVCC.
So I was through there yesterday and saw a lot of the haptic stuff. Some of the companies, to me, it looks like the solutions aren't quite there yet. So how has your development went? How do you feel the responses on what you've introduced? I'm kind of curious about that process you went through.
Sure. So I think to start off with, I think we took advantage of the fact that we're a little later than a lot of gloves to market. A lot of people have been doing gloves for a while.
Yeah.
And we learned from some of the failures of others or challenges that they've overcome.
Sure.
So we did a lot of things, I think, a little bit different. And so that's been a really good response. Number one, our glove is very light and small. And it's a lot more rugged than other things. So a lot of gloves out there and things like that are very fragile. And ours, you just put on, it's under a half a pound, right? And has 4 to 6 hours of battery life.
That's a lot.
You just put your hands into the virtual world and it replaces the controllers, gives you a really rich feeling of the feedback. So
what are the use cases so far? What do you find your customers are using the gloves for so far?
So the first place in VR where we've seen the most explosion of the gloves is really the enterprise side. There's a few areas there. Probably our top area is in enterprise training. So we have a lot of companies, Fortune 500 companies, who want to train their workers.
Sure.
And it can be very expensive or very dangerous. Yep. Think of an oil rig. Sending someone out to an oil rig can be very dangerous. Yep. And you don't want to do that when they're not trained. And so you can do it much more affordably and conveniently. We also see some things in healthcare. Right, experimenting, moving into using stroke therapy, and pharmaceutical companies looking at using the glove to show the efficacy of drugs based on things like Parkinson's disease and things like that.
Interesting. That's an interesting use model in itself. Huh. One thing I saw a few years ago, I was out at Ford, and they had, a guy completely immersed in, he had in a suit almost.
Yep.
And what he was doing was simulating, they were trying to figure out, could a mechanic remove an alternator easily, and what would be the time period to take that alternator out and replace it. And so they were trying to figure out, number one, and they had a cutaway view. So they were trying to figure out, is this really going to work, with the way we've got the car design? And I thought that was a unique use case. But again, he was completely immersed and bending over. This is not what you're looking to do. You're looking more about controls, and it's strictly in the hands. So I can see where the Ford solution was, that was probably really expensive to implement and to process, whereas your guys' solution seems to be more affordable for a regular company.
It is definitely more affordable, and with anything like technology, as we scale, it'll get even more affordable. But it's 2 gloves, right, and they're self-contained. And a lot of stuff you're talking about with Ford, you really don't need the full body, because if you know where the hands are, you know approximately where the arms and the body is.
Right.
And with the headset, you know where the head is. So that's most of what you need.
So how do people create this content that goes along with the utilization of this? Because I really don't understand that process either. So it's not just like are they taking a 360 camera and filming a space, and then immersing the person, or how does that work?
So there's a bunch of different ways to do it. Certainly, some of the environment they'll take out of a CAD system, right? So they'll have mechanical drawings of different things, maybe a machine. They can export that out and bring it into the engine that they're using to program and do things around.
That's interesting. So you're actually using AutoCAD renderings to base. I see.
And some people will do it straight from the ground up, right? So it's interesting. The prime engines for all this stuff came from sort of gaming engines.
Of course.
Right? So Unity and Unreal are probably the top two engines people are using for these type of things. And because they're gaming engines, they had 3D built in, and you can build things pretty quick and efficiently.
Do you find gamers using your gloves at this point?
So we have a lot of interest in the gaming side. It's somewhere we might get to. The key there is you got to have a lower price point, and so as the technology becomes more mainstream,
right.
My guess is we're in early stages with some location-based entertainment. Think amusement park VR. Think VR arcades, where it'll get to the consumer first in these type of areas.
Yep.
And then as we drive down the price, it'll get to them.
So what is the cost of a pair of haptic BeBop gloves?
Sure. So a pair of gloves is $3,000.
$3,000.
Yeah.
That is a significant investment. It's big. So it's something a company definitely would, but definitely probably out of the range of most consumers at this point. So are you guys then, along with the purchase, are you providing consulting for the companies on how to do this implementation? And
correct.
Yeah.
So we provide a bunch of help, and we also have partners who can even develop the applications from the ground up for people.
Oh,
so
that's nice.
Depending on what they have in-house, it can be very easy and quick to get up and running.
So thinking about training, everything from being in the oil industry per se, maybe changing procedures on how to use equipment, to healthcare, pharmaceutical. That's pretty amazing. It's pretty wide. It doesn't seem like there's probably nothing that can't be touched at this point. So
definitely, and I think one of the most complicated ones we're seeing is, like planes, right? So we got a SBIR grant from the Air Force, and they're doing actual training of communication systems in planes and other things like that. So it's really complex, lots of interactions.
Yeah, because and sometimes it's very expensive. Having come out of DoD myself personally, and some of those communication systems, it's not like you can't train 20 people at once, because you can't afford to have 20 trainers. You might have one physical trainer, so having the virtual trainers, and you can have unlimited people in a training class going through and learning how to operate the equipment and doing what they need to do. Makes sense. It really, really does. So, Jerry, thanks for coming over. And, of course, you guys are at BeBop Sensors. And what is it, BeBopSensors.com, or what's the URL for the website?
Correct, BeBopSensors.com.
All right, folks, definitely check it out, BeBopSensors.com. And thanks for coming over and talking to us this morning. And good luck with the rest of the show.
Thanks a lot.
All right, appreciate it.